So this is the newest addition here at the Solar Living Center. This is the double spiral yin-yang aquaponics system, as I call it. And the idea here was to kind of follow a permaculture design of what's needed. I want to have something that shows the public what aquaponics looks like, demonstrate really visually stunning with inspection windows here. So we have a fish window here so that the public can see the fish actually swimming around. And the way this system works is that first of all, I buried the fish tank 3 to 4 feet in the ground. And by burying it 3 to 4 feet in the ground, the Mother Earth is helping to mitigate the temperature changes. So for example, it gets 100 degrees in the summer here for a week at a time. And by being buried 4 feet in the ground, it's kept it from getting too hot in those hot periods of time. Yeah. And so what happens is that the water is flowing in a circular motion in this circular tank. So it creates kind of like a vortex pattern. And 4 feet down, buried below the earth, it comes to a cone on the bottom. It's called a cone bottom tank. And the idea is by doing that, I can put a drain in the bottom of the tank right in the center of that cone. And that makes it so that the fish poop just spirals around and goes right out. Any fish waste, any algae goes out of the fish tank as quick as possible, and we keep the water as clean as possible for the fish. And then where it flows from there is it leaves this overflow pipe here, leaves the tank, and then it goes into the first filter. First filter is what I call a solid separator. It's a swirl filter style solid separator, and it captures all the large solid particles. And it does this just by letting the particles swirl around until they're waterlogged. And then once they're waterlogged, they sink to the bottom. And then later I can open up a valve down at that end and drain the solid waste right off into my worm bin. That's the way the solid separator works. Over here we have what's called a biofilter or a mechanical filter biofilter combination. And this is really a simple setup. The water from the first filter goes down to the bottom of this tank and then slowly percolates its way up to the top through all this filter netting. So everybody always asks me, what do you use for filter netting? I use a food-grade poly mesh netting that you would use for an organic orchard to protect the orchard from birds eating your cherries, for example. And so anyways, once it goes to the top, the water's now been cleaned. We got the large particles out in the first filter, and then the smaller particles are captured in the second filter. Now that we have the particles out of the water, the only thing left in the water are the nutrients provided by the fish waste, right? So the idea here is that water now that is free of particles flows out this overflow pipe here, goes down under the ground, and then it goes into the aquaponic grow bed here. And this particular style is what we call a deep water culture or a raft system, meaning that it's floating on these rafts on top of the water. And so now that you have the liquid nutrients in the water, you need those liquid nutrients removed. So we have these robust root systems that use up and readily take up the available nitrates, and then they clean the water, removing the excess nutrients out of the water. And then as this water flows closer and closer and closer to the center, it gets cleaner and cleaner. And in the center of the spiral there, which is actually a yin-yang, center of the spiral, there is an efficient water pump, and that water pump pumps the water back to the fish now that it's been cleaned. So that cycle's happening all the time, 24 hours a day. And then one thing I like to show people is that aquaponic gardens are amongst the few gardens in the world where you can get your plants to dance. So who doesn't like dancing? So in any case, here's how the plants dance. So you watch behind me and the basil will start moving. The waves being generated.
And it smells so wonderful.
Yeah, it's really doing great. It's a really great crop. The reason I'm doing basil is because it grows so well in the summer. It loves the heat, and it's a fast crop. I can produce, I can cut it back, make pesto, and then produce a full plant again in less than a month. It's pretty amazing. So it's happening 24 hours a day, recirculating the water. But the other thing I wanted to share with you is the hempcrete pathway. So this was the first project that I did in hempcrete. And it's really exciting. We ordered the hemp from Canada. And what happens is that with hemp, unlike concrete, now concrete, if you look at my knuckles, concrete's just a bunch of aggregate stuck together. Now, aggregate doesn't really have any shear strength. Put pressure on aggregate, it falls apart. But imagine if you have hemp fibers instead. Now you have interlocking fibers, which gives it strength. So the hempcrete is much lighter, much stronger, and of course uses less non-renewable materials like cement. So it is a lot greener than using concrete alone. And then the last thing to point out here is that there's going to be some additions to this system. Where I'm standing now is actually the grow bed, so we want a greenhouse over here. So we're going to be building a crystal or emerald shaped greenhouse made of glass. It will open at the top. It's a very efficient way to let the heat out. And of course, one of the motivations is to make it really beautiful. And then the last thing we could share is over here on top of the fish tank, we're going to have a cone top. So the top of this fish tank will be covered by a cone-shaped top, and then this lotus will be at the top of that cone. And what will happen is that we'll have a fogger making a fog or a mist. It's finer than a mist, it's an actual fog. It's a very effective way to vaporize water. And then that water vapor comes all the way down, spiraling down, taking nutrients with it until it sits on top of the tank. So I'm going to have a spiraling vertical garden over this tank as well as a screen. And then I'll put a solar-powered bug zapper in the middle. The insects will be drawn in, they'll be zapped and dropped an automatic fish feeder.
Nice.
And then there's one more feature I forgot to mention, and that is if you look up there, there's the rain spouts. And there's 5 rain spouts down the building, and we're going to put rainwater tanks under each spout. And then we're going to teach people about sustainable strategies on how to live more sustainably on your home, your homestead, how to garden more water efficiently, how to use hemp in your life, how to do aquaponics. And each tank will hold 1,100 gallons, so that's 5,500 gallons that we'll have to top up the aquaponics system. More than enough for the whole year.
Wow.
So this system uses 80 watts of electricity, which is next to nothing. It has a venturi so that it injects air with that one water pump, and it only uses 5 to 7 gallons of water a day in the summer, which is incredible for growing over 700 plants. So that's the aquaponics system here at Solar Living Center.
That's fantastic. And what was your name?
I'm Max Meyers, NorCal Aquaponics, and this is my baby.
All right.